Tonight, the world's two largest economies, America and China, are locked in a tariff war with real consequences for American jobs. What started as targeted trade actions has escalated, hitting factory floors and family paychecks across the country. Boeing, a symbol of U.S. manufacturing and the nation's largest exporter, has just suspended production on key aircraft lines. This isn't just about economics, it's about the future of American industry. The U.S. accuses China of unfair trade practices, including intellectual property theft, and responded with tariffs to protect domestic industries. China retaliated, targeting major U.S. exports, especially aircraft, striking at Boeing's most critical market. The result: a cycle of escalation, rising costs, and uncertainty for American manufacturers. Boeing's suspension is a case study, but it's not alone. Manufacturers nationwide are facing similar challenges. They're grappling with higher material costs, disrupted supply chains, and unpredictable export markets. As we examine this tariff war, we're not just looking at numbers, we're looking at the future of American industry. The stakes have never been higher. The trade conflict erupted in early 2018, when the U.S. imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum, citing national security and unfair practices. By July, a 25% tariff hit $34 billion in Chinese goods. China struck back, targeting U.S. exports like soybeans, cars, and aircraft. The tit-for-tat escalated: more tariffs, more uncertainty, and disrupted supply chains. A brief truce in 2019 led to the Phase 1 deal, with China pledging to buy more U.S. goods. But most tariffs stayed. The COVID-19 pandemic complicated everything, making it impossible for China to meet its commitments and exposing deeper rifts. By 2024, tensions reignited. The U.S. targeted strategic sectors: EVs, batteries, semiconductors, while China doubled down on tariffs against high-value U.S. exports, including aircraft. For companies like Boeing, this latest round was the breaking point. Years of adjustments couldn't shield them from the renewed economic pain. The trade war's cycle of escalation has left businesses unable to plan, invest, or grow. The result: production halts, lost markets, and a climate of uncertainty. The tariff war's impact is no longer abstract, it's shutting down American assembly lines. The question now: how much more can U.S. industry withstand? The answer may define the next decade. Boeing's production halt wasn't just about tariffs, it was the final blow after years of mounting pressure. China, once projected to buy over 8,500 new planes in 2 decades, was Boeing's key growth market. Retaliatory tariffs made Boeing jets more expensive for Chinese airlines, pushing them toward Airbus. Orders dried up, deliveries stalled, and uncertainty grew. Boeing was already struggling with the aftermath of the 737 MAX crisis and pandemic-era supply chain disruptions. The combination of lost sales, supply bottlenecks, and rising costs made full production unsustainable. Suspending production was a painful but necessary step to stop the financial bleeding. Boeing's halt is more than a corporate setback, it's an economic shockwave. At its peak, Boeing delivered over 800 planes a year, supporting 60,000 direct jobs and thousands more in its supply chain. China once accounted for a quarter of Boeing's deliveries. After tariffs, that number collapsed. Each undelivered plane means millions lost and cash flow strained. The halt is meant to prevent ghost inventory, finished jets with no buyers. The financial hit will ripple through earnings, R&D, and investor confidence. The human cost is even greater. Layoffs and furloughs are likely, not just at Boeing, but across its supplier network. For every Boeing job, 3 more depend on it nationwide. The decision isn't just about planes. It's about the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of Americans. The stakes for American manufacturing have never been clearer. Boeing's production halt sends shockwaves through a vast supply chain spanning all 50 states. From giants like GE to small family businesses, thousands depend on Boeing's steady orders. When production stops, suppliers face existential threats, especially smaller firms with few other customers. Tariffs squeeze from both ends. Chinese tariffs kill demand, while U.S. tariffs raise material costs. Many suppliers must choose between layoffs, halting production, or risking insolvency. The just-in-time manufacturing model, once prized for efficiency, now looks dangerously fragile. Companies scramble to build resilience, holding more inventory, seeking new suppliers, or redesigning products. These changes are costly and slow, but necessary for survival. The ripple effects are reshaping American manufacturing from the ground up. The supply chain crisis is a warning. No company stands alone in a globalized economy. Boeing's crisis is just one example of a broader upheaval in American manufacturing. The tariff war has hit the auto industry hard. Higher steel and parts costs mean pricier cars and lost competitiveness. Farmers, once reliant on China for soybean exports, have seen prices collapse and debts mount. Government aid can't replace lost markets, and farm equipment makers like John Deere feel the pain too. Even tech giants aren't immune. Tariffs on Chinese components drive up costs for U.S. electronics makers. Companies must either absorb the hit or pass it to consumers, eroding profits and market share. The result is a climate of uncertainty. Business models built over decades are suddenly in question. While tariffs aim to protect jobs, the immediate effect has been higher costs, lost sales, and volatility. Companies hesitate to invest when trade rules can change overnight. Boeing's story is America's story, caught between global competition and unpredictable policy. The future of U.S. manufacturing hangs in the balance. The choices made now will shape the next generation of American industry. The tariff war hasn't hit everyone equally. U.S. steel and aluminum producers saw short-term gains, higher prices, reopened mills, and some new jobs. But manufacturers using those metals faced higher costs, squeezing profits or raising prices for consumers. For many, tariffs felt like an internal tax, helping a few, hurting many. Some companies did reshore production, especially in strategic sectors like semiconductors, aided by new government incentives. But most didn't return to the U.S. They shifted to other low-cost countries to avoid tariffs. The result? A fractured landscape with clear losers and only a handful of winners. Tariffs alone haven't reversed decades of offshoring. The global economy is too complex for simple solutions. The trade war's legacy is a divided economy, some protected, many exposed. The future of American manufacturing is hotly debated. Some argue tariffs were a necessary correction to decades of unfair trade, even if painful. Others say tariffs are a blunt tool that hurt U.S. businesses and consumers most. A new middle ground is emerging. Protect a narrow set of critical industries with high barriers, but keep trade open elsewhere. Most agree. The era of unchecked globalization is over. The new reality demands supply chain resilience, domestic innovation, and a clear industrial strategy. Investment in workforce training and infrastructure is essential. Washington must provide consistent, long-term policy. The choices made today will determine if U.S. manufacturing can adapt and thrive. The path forward is uncertain, but the stakes couldn't be higher. We've seen how the U.S.-China tariff war has reshaped American industry, from Boeing's halted lines to struggling farmers and tech firms. The numbers are stark: lost orders, deferred revenue, and jobs at risk across the country. The goal of reshoring jobs is far more complex than raising trade barriers. The global economy's interconnectedness has exposed deep vulnerabilities. As of July 31, 2025, the path forward is still unclear. Experts are divided. Some call for confrontation, others for renewed global cooperation, and many for a targeted strategic approach. Resilience, innovation, and smart investment must guide the next era of American industry. The fundamental question remains: how do we balance protecting national industries with participating in the global economy that sustains them?